Yo, 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 what's going on? This is Real Talk with Rajan. We are back. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? I am here and I'm ready to get started, but we're not going to get started until 7 o'clock. So what I need you to do is share this video out. Please share this video out. RJ, can you bring me that on cord right there? Please share this out as you guys are coming in. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a very special guest this evening. Give me that cord. Yeah. We have a very special guest. Thank you all for joining us. If you're watching on replay, just skip forward like 2 minutes and we're going to be rolling. We will be rolling in about 2 minutes. Look at my iPad so I can have sound. What's up? What's up? What's up? Thank you so much for joining me. Whoever you are, say something so I can say something back. Y'all know I like to talk to y'all. I like to talk to my audience. I want to make you guys feel special because y'all make me feel special by watching. And I appreciate that because you could be doing anything. But you decided, you counted it not robbery to join me here on this audio-visual journey. We are live. Join us. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Thank you guys so much for joining us. We're about to get started in just a minute. Thank you so much. As you're coming in, if you could please share this out, we would greatly appreciate it because we want to make sure that we get Dr. Middleton as much of the audience as we can possibly get him for this one because he has very important information to share. Very important information. All right. Where's my open? All right. I'm going to hide you, Dr. Middleton. I'll bring you right back in.
Thank you.
All right. What's going on? What's going on? All right. Let's do it. Let me fix my audio so I can hear it from there. All right, let's do it. Let's go this way. Hello, world, and welcome back to Real Talk with Rajan when nothing's off limits. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you are here with me, and I appreciate that. I am your host, Rajan Lewis. Now, here on Real Talk with Rajan, everything's debatable, so on any given week, we could be discussing anything from sports to music to politics. You name it, we'll discuss it. Now, for those who are new to the show, Real Talk with Rajan has a goal of shining a light on the great things that are happening right here in the Low Country. I know that we talk about everything that's going on all around the world. We talk about New York, we talk about Cleveland, Ohio, we talk about Cincinnati, we talk about Miami, Florida, we talk about San Francisco, California, we talk about Dallas, Texas. But I'm telling you that right here in the Low Country, we have people doing amazing things every single day. And today, my special guest is none other than pastor, educator, former superintendent, and current running for County Council District 6, Dr. Kylon Middleton. Thank you so much for joining me, sir.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
All right. For those who do not know who you are, please introduce yourself to the audience.
My name is Kylon Middleton. I'm pastor of Mount Zion AME Church, downtown Charleston. I'm a native Charlestonian. I have one son. He's a grad student at East Carolina University. And I'm just glad to be here. Former educator, retired, and just a community activist, and I'm ready to roll, running for Charleston County Council District 6. And so definitely asking folks to check that race out.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. So because you have a very interesting story, and I want to make sure that people have a full grasp of who you are. And I've heard the story before because thankfully you actually did a talk with our executive MPA cohort, and I really enjoyed hearing about it. So if you could just give us a brief rundown of your educational background and how you got to where you are today.
Well, I'm again native Charlestonian. I went to Burke High School, certainly right here in the heart of the city of Charleston. From Burke High School, I went to the College of Charleston, got a Bachelor of Arts degree from there, majored in English and Communications. Started teaching high school English at Burke High School and left Burke and went to Columbia. I was working on a Master of Divinity. I'm bivocational. I was, a high school English teacher and pastoring at the same time. So I needed to get a seminary degree. So I went to a seminary in Columbia. I was teaching at Eau Claire High School, going to Lutheran Seminary, went to Duke University. Worked on another master's there and a PhD, and I was in education, wanted to be a principal superintendent. So I went to UNC Chapel Hill and worked on a Master of School Administration degree, EDS and EDD, and had a very successful educational career and a super pastoral career. And I'm still pastoring now.
Wow. So let's talk about so you graduated at a very young age. So how old were you when you graduated high school?
Yeah, I was 15. I was 15 when I graduated from Burke High School. So certainly, I was skipped. So let me tell you, back in those days, they used to have these combination classes. They don't do that much anymore
right
these days. But back then, they had these combination classes like second, third grade. They had these combos, and I was in second grade and seemed to be getting all the second grade work, and I was getting in a lot of trouble. And so they thought to challenge me, they put me on the third grade side. And so I completed that whole curriculum. And when the year was over, I went to fourth grade.
Wow.
And so the same thing happened, this fourth, fifth, sort of situation. I was getting all the fourth grade work. I was whizzing through the curriculum. They put me on the fifth grade side. And then next thing you know, I was out of elementary school. So I mean,
wow.
I got skipped twice in elementary school. So that's how that happened.
Okay, and so you matriculated the rest of the way,
year
to year.
Naturally.
Wow, that is a very interesting story. Now, I could make a dig at the fact that Burke High School, but I'm not going to do that.
We continue to have this conversation. I'm going to let it go.
I'm putting on my good hosting hat. I'm not going to come for Burke High today. But I definitely, that's just such an amazing story, especially, considering what's going on with Burke High School right now and the circumstances surrounding it. I know you spoke about being an activist. Can you talk a little bit about your activist background?
Yeah, certainly. By being a pastor, of course, I'm not only pastor in my church, I'm in the whole community. So when we see injustice, when we see, inequities and areas where somebody needs to step in and do something, mobilizing, large groups and then rallying people around certain causes, I'm your man. I'm on top of those type of things. I've just through my own personal experiences from, going from Burke to College of Charleston, from College of Charleston to Duke, Lutheran Seminary to Duke, you are put in circumstances where things are so wrong that at some point you have to develop a skill set to advocate, speak out, to really speak up, against those issues so that in some cases, those things could be righted. And so I've had those early experiences because if I didn't advocate for myself, certainly I would not have made it. And when I found myself, in that kind of position, when I saw these type things in our community, particularly as a pastor, and then certainly as a teacher and assistant principal, superintendent, I thought that it was felt that it was my calling and compelled, based on my position, since I had a voice, since I had power, to at least use that for the good of those in my community. So when you have the opportunity to lift people up, especially in your position and in your, whatever God has blessed you to do in your life, you should do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So how has your role in activism related to, I know you talked about being a pastor. I guess before I even get to the activism piece of it, I want to go back because you became a pastor at a young age as well.
Yeah, I started pastoring. I got my first church, I was 16. I graduated. So back then the rule was, or the requirements were, high school diploma. And so I got a diploma, I was 15. And so shortly that same year, I turned 16 and I was ordained and I got a church.
Wow. Wow. So where was your first church? Was in Charleston, or was it somewhere else?
North Charleston. Yeah.
North Charleston. Okay. All right. Wow. That's crazy. So what was that? What was that pressure like? You graduate from high school
That was a
at,
lot of
at,
pressure.
at
That was a lot,
16,
right.
and
That
you're a
was
pastor
right.
at 16.
That was a lot of pressure because, of course, individuals, especially in churches, y'all know how churches are.
Yeah.
I had individuals who were my members who were old enough to be my great grandparents, and
Yes.
they told me that regularly, that they had great grandchildren at that time
Yes.
that were older than I was, and I'm like, well, I'm still your pastor, so I mean, I'm not a great grandchild. But I had to grow up real fast. I found myself in positions where I had to step up to leadership roles because, again, for adult situations, it was not a novelty because I was 16 years old.
Right.
The cuteness wore off real fast when I had to step up into making decisions that impacted the lives of people. So, I mean, you had to really be an adult, in those roles, and you had to recognize that it was a grown-up job. And so being a pastor at such an early age, certainly I was already preaching at 8. So, I mean, it's not like I just woke up and became a pastor at 16. I was already preaching. Crazy. I was in ministry. I went through the entire ministry process in the AME church. And then I was, qualified. And so by the time I became a pastor at 16, I'd already graduated from high school. I'd already gone through the entire rigor of the AME system to become a minister in the AME church, which is not an easy process at all.
Right.
I had fought ageism. I had fought, because back then it's just like a lot of old men. And so, scarcely any women back during those days who were in preaching. And certainly they were not celebrating youth and individuals who were coming in, who were young, trying to come into ministry. So, I mean, that was not celebrated at the time. It sounds good now, but I mean, you had to kind of break through ceilings. You had to jump over hurdles and barriers, and you had to look at those things that were systemic, even within our own culture, our own tradition, our own community, and overcome those things in order then to even have a success story. I mean, we're looking back over 30 plus years now, but it was hard. It was not easy. And then finally, once kind of jumping over that kind of age hurdle and individuals seeing you credibly, in an adult role, it easily went away.
So, wow, that's so much. That is so much. So how long did you stay at that church?
I stayed at that church for 3 years, I think.
So you left there at 19.
Yeah.
And that's when you went to North Carolina?
No, I went to Columbia.
That's when you went to Columbia.
Yeah,
okay.
I went to Columbia.
And so everywhere that you've been, so between now, so I hate asking people their age. How old are you now?
50.
You're 50. One, Black Don't Crack. Congratulations. That's you did that. But that's amazing. So from the time you were 16 years old to now, you've been a pastor.
Yes, continuously. Wow. I've never not been a pastor. I've been a pastor as long as I could remember. So, again, it's one of those things, like we were talking about earlier before coming online or on air, that when it's your passion, when it's ingrained in you, when it's something that is just like breathing air, it's not work. And so being a pastor certainly is who I am. It's what I do. And it is the life force, that continues to give me, the energy, the enthusiasm, the purpose. It drives me to do the things, to serve God's people, to serve the community, and to be that change agent for good. Because again, especially during this pandemic situation, a lot of people are now leaning on faith because there's nothing else that you can make sense of. These are like biblical things happening in our contemporary times. And so people are now, kind of turning back to faith, not to say that they had, a lot of people claim to be spiritual, but now folk are now coming back to a more traditional, experience as it relates to religions and churches and spirituality. And so they're consuming it like we're online right now. They're consuming it online. It's easy to get to, lots of church content out there, especially based on everybody having to go virtual. And so people are now engaging back. Some folk were wondering, well, how do I get back in church? Because making that literal journey back into the house of God. But now they're able to come in through this virtual platform, and it has enabled us an opportunity. But being a pastor is almost like being Black. So I mean, I don't have a choice. God called me to this. I'm in it. I live, breathe, eat, sleep. I'm just a pastor. And so I'm there for the people of God. I'm doing what God has called me to do. I get energy and life just based on transforming people so that they could be better, certainly based on biblical principles, and providing them, with those spiritual tools that they need to be successful as people of God.
All right. And thank you guys so much. Just to reset, thank you guys, everybody who's watching right now. This is Real Talk with Jean. We're interviewing Dr. Kylon Middleton, pastor, educator, former superintendent in North Carolina, I believe, correct?
North Carolina.
And now he's running for District 6 County Council in Charleston County. So we're going to definitely talk about that. But I wanted to get a little bit more background before we got into the politics side of it. So you went through the education system as a teacher, and then you ended up as a superintendent. So let's walk that road real quick.
So I decided, again, I was bivocational. I was pastoring. I was a high school English teacher. I loved high school English. I taught 12th grade literature, British literature. So, that gave me a lot of energy too. I really enjoyed that. I get turned on by Shakespeare and Chaucer and those type of things that normally would bore the average person, but it just kind of got me going. So I love teaching high school English. And when I was in the classroom, I recognized if I'm going to stay in this, meaning in education, then I cannot, I have gifts, I have organizational skills, I had administrative talents that really, kind of went beyond the classroom. So I knew that I, didn't only want to be a teacher if I stayed in that realm. And so I needed to attain additional, educational, sort of qualifications in order to go into administration. So I did. And went in, I became an assistant principal, became a principal. So I thought, well, okay, I just want to be a principal. That to me at some point was it. And then when I was a principal, I was very successful at being a principal. And I'm like, I think I could run a whole school system. I used to complain about it a lot and say, well, the superintendent should do this. The superintendent should do that. I don't know why they're making this decision. Then I figured I could do a better job, right? And so as a result, I was mentored by, good superintendents. I worked well as a principal. I turned around a lot of schools, meaning the schools that, I was principal of, and had great success as it relates to, students matriculating, test scores, and those metrics, that make schools successful as it relates to, all those things that, now they use as measuring rods. And then, I decided that I was going to go back to school. I got certified, in that area, and then, certainly applied and, became an assistant superintendent, and then, superintendent.
How old were you when you were a superintendent?
I was, back then, I was 41 or 2, something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that's still really young for a superintendent.
Yeah.
That's still really young. Wow. That's you've lived quite a life. So now you're back in the Low Country, and we're glad to have you. And you're pastoring where now?
Mount Zion AME Church, downtown Charleston.
On Glebe Street.
On Glebe Street, on the campus of the College of Charleston.
Yes. I went to a concert there. I forget, not a concert, but a singing there last year, I think it was.
College of Charleston Gospel Choir.
Yes. A lot of great singing was going on there. So in pastoring, what was it about pastoring and about being in that activism realm that made you feel as though the next step would be running for local office?
I never really wanted to run for local office. The same that I was saying earlier, I've always been an outside agitator, one who was confronting systems, challenging systems, demanding and compelling systems, to change as it relates to these issues of, affordable housing, issues that we're fighting for, traffic and transportation here in Charleston, these local issues, education. Looking at the abysmal nature of our schools, and then the infrastructure is still the same. I grew up here, and the streets are still the same. Nothing has really changed, and we have 100 times more people. And so there was not really, mitigated planned growth as we, experienced all of this population growth in and around this area. So, I was always in their faces, and I am still always in their faces. I'm, certainly, an agent, a spokesperson for the community, an agent for change. And then I woke up one day and I'm like, well, sometimes you have to be on the inside in order to make these changes. So I decided, that I was going to kind of throw my hat in the ring and try to tackle some of these big issues from the inside. Now, county council is one of those areas that folk really don't pay a lot of attention to. People are looking at the Senate races, the congressional races. They're looking at these local House and state Senate races. They're looking at sometimes even school board races and or mayoral races, but nobody is paying attention to county council races. And that really is the council or governing body that really presides over millions and sometimes billions of dollars that truly transforms our community or not, depending on, the government or area in which you live. So, I looked at that and I said, well, now is the time to really move in a direction where we have competent, not that people are not competent, but we need more strong moral individuals on county council with a moral compass, ethical compass that they're just going to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And I cannot say that is always the case. And I've been reading things in the paper and I'm like, how on earth? Why aren't we mad about that? How could they do this? And how could they appoint people to, they just self-enrich themselves. Really, when you look at the groups of them, they're all just, it's like a like a factory that, that they're just playing in. It's their own little personal playpen. And so, so I just decided that, we need individuals who will kind of put a stop to that, because when you look at, just follow the strands and the string, it all leads to the same, the same route. And so when looking at that, I figured, I'm not controlled by anybody. So it just becomes a good thing to have independent individuals who can think for themselves, who can serve people and do the right thing that benefits the entire community.
Okay. So as county councilman, what is the thing, because people always talk about, I was having a discussion last night with a group of gentlemen and they were talking about why they don't believe in the voting process and why they don't believe that the voting process is a way to lead the Black and African-American community, underserved communities even, out of the doldrums that we're facing. What can you say to those people that will explain to them why it's important that not only that they vote, but that they vote for you in District 6?
So my brothers and my sisters, those individuals out there who have that who have that mentality and that mindset, please stop. Please turn that around and think differently about that, because these governmental systems continue to operate, and in many cases, because we don't vote, it's like we don't exist. And so we are not represented in such a way that really you see the residual benefits coming back to the people, because you're not even considered, because they already know that you're not going to vote. And so when we turn out to the ballot box, we get their attention. And so when I say we, that means the Black community, that means people at large in general. We have to begin to speak through our vote. And individuals died. I always use that, the traditional speech. People died so that we could vote. I don't care if there's just a dog catcher on the ballot. I'm still voting because, you need to be an influencer, an individual who shapes that. And then when you are holding these people accountable, you could say, well, I voted for you or I didn't vote for you. And let me tell you why. And this is why we're going to get somebody else credible to run against you. So we need to get off the fence. And this is just like what we were talking about earlier, when you say, well, what then encouraged me or, became the, thing that caused me to run, because you can't sit on the sidelines forever. For those of us who like sporting analogies, you got to get in the game. And so if you don't vote, you are not even in the game. And so right now, absentee balloting and voting has been expanded for everybody. So everybody can vote via absentee ballots right now. You can call your local county election commission and you can order your ballot now. You don't have to get out there and all of that hustle and bustle, worrying about if you're going to contract, the coronavirus or whatever the case is. Get your absentee ballot now. Get in the process. When we are in the process, we can influence and shape these elections. There were individuals who were elected in this last election, some of whom only won by 1 or 2 votes, and may not have been the candidate that should have won. But if we had then, because some people say, well, oh, my 1 vote is not going to count. Your 1 vote could have been the 1 vote that then tipped the thing for the other person. So we have to always have that imperative on the inside that I'm going to vote, even if it's just for my own conscience, even if it's just my own internal resolve that I have done my due diligence, my civic duty, the thing that people marched for and died for and paid their lives for. I'm going to do that out of respect for those folks, but I'm going to do it transformationally because, look, I'm looking toward the future. And based on where I see us going, I don't like the direction. I don't like how they've dismissed us. I don't like how they continue to discriminate against us. I don't like how my life continues to be, because I don't find myself uplifted because the people who are in those seats don't even recognize me. They don't acknowledge me. They don't know my story. They don't know my plight. Let me tell you, for those individuals who are out there, I came from nothing. And so if I could come from, literally nothing in Charleston, South Carolina, I had no hope. When they were talking about Burke High School, they said that nothing good can come out of Burke High School. I came from the east side of Charleston during the days where it was a war zone. And so if I could rise and make it as just a person, not regardless of being a preacher and this, God just had his hand on my life as God has his hand on all of our lives, regardless of if we go into ministry or not. When we make it, we have to position ourselves to ensure that our community keeps moving forward. And we don't move forward by making decisions to stay behind. And when we don't vote, we have made an intentional decision that we are going to stay behind. When we vote, politicians, now I'm learning how to be a politician. I'm not naturally a politician. I breathe, being a pastor. I don't breathe being a politician, because sometimes I run from politicians too. But at the same token, I have learned that in order to get their attention, you have to assemble, you have to organize, you have to come in masses. And Black folk particularly, we have to stand up. Young Black folk, show them that by going to the ballot box, you can make a difference, because you can influence an election. And guess what? They will be on your doorstep trying to figure out what they can do the next time in order to get your vote. Let them take you seriously. Be a force to be reckoned with. And you can do that by your vote. Fill out your census form as well. So why am I running for District 6? So I live in West Ashley, right? District 6 encompasses West Ashley, part of West Ashley, North Charleston, Lincolnville, part of Somerville. That area. If you live in 29414, 29418, 29420, 29485, 29483, those zip codes, just check your voter registration card to see if you're in District 6. The incumbent person who is in this district announced that he was retiring. And when he announced that he was retiring, I just figured, well, now is the best opportunity for me to just jump in, because sometimes going against an incumbent, that's a lot to have to run and against. So, but since he was retiring, it just timing was right. And so based on that, I just to jump in. I decided also to jump in because off of Bees Ferry Road, I'm stuck back here. The traffic and transportation every morning, especially, well, not now because we're on the shutdowns and people are working from home. Regular mornings where you have gridlock and the traffic going and coming back home. You can sit in traffic for hours, just trying to get to work or whatever the case is. So expanding and widening Glenn McConnell, finishing 526, doing those things that begin to expand infrastructure, flooding issues, not only in Grand Oak, Shadow Moss, and on this side of town, but flooding issues all across the county need to be mitigated. And I think I really have the opportunity, the skill sets, the knowledge base. I have the time and the commitment to developing policies to see some of these things through from beginning to end.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. We definitely believe it, that. Well, we definitely are glad that you were able to share that. I saw some comments coming in. That's why I got a little distracted. I'm sorry. I wanted to make sure we share that. So you have a comment from Dustin Rhodes, watching all the way from Baltimore. Thank you so much for watching, Dustin. I appreciate you. The problem with young people voting, I think, is to keep harping on the importance of them voting, honestly, because we sound like old folks on repeat. Is there another way that we can get young people to vote? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, because we need people like Dustin Rhodes to help us reframe that message. So again, I'm kind of like getting in the old folk category right now, but we need young folk who then, are hip and on that level and speaking that language and talking that talk and recognizing, where these young people are, so that so that you can speak to them, and through your example. I don't know, even when I was young, I had the same dilemma, because I was among contemporaries and individuals who also did not feel, because of my parents were saying this, old folk were saying this, and yes, there was that sort of kind of repeat loop that seemed to always we hear in the Black community. And then of course we had Barack Obama come along. Everybody went to vote for him, whether you were young or old. So I don't know if we need more inspiring candidates, and prayerfully I could be a candidate that could inspire somebody young or old. I want to vote for this guy. But maybe we need more inspirational, aspirational candidates that will then speak to young people, not necessarily speak to them as it relates to language, because Barack Obama was not kind of parsing words and getting jiggy with it and all this other kind of stuff. But he was just speaking, right? And so and the energy that came from Barack Obama caused young people to just get on. Bernie Sanders. Now, I have been to a lot of Bernie Sanders, not this iteration of Bernie. I'm talking about the first Bernie, back when he was running a few years ago. Young people. I mean, his campaign, his following are all. So again, it's not necessarily an age thing that you're harping and you're saying these same type things. It's the energy, and so I don't know what it would take, get me in a room with some young people and I can inspire them to vote. I don't know what to say to them, but I can feel them and they can feel me, and we could just start through ESP. I don't know how it happens, but they will get the message, and something will happen, because sometimes you just need to be inspired. Sometimes people don't have that, that sort of level of lift that causes them to feel like, okay, this is an important thing for me to do. And once they get that, once that starts moving on the inside of them, and they have that imperative on the inside of them, and they see how it works, and they see how it begins to, how they can change things as it relates to their individual impact, then, it becomes something that it's like a drug. You will do it the next time, and you're going to do it the next time, you're going to do it the next time, and you will inspire somebody else also to do it. Young people, let me tell you, you're going to get old one day. And so you don't want to wait until you get old to get in the game, right?
If you're lucky.
You want to do it now, right? If you're lucky, or if you're blessed. And so you don't want to wait until you get old to say, well, now I'm washed up, I'm 60 years old, let me go vote. You want to vote now, because, again, that becomes something that will, you want your lives, to be, your futures to be bright. And so you don't want individuals who will continue to suppress and oppress and roll our rights back to be individuals who are in office and in power.
Thank you for sharing that. So we got a couple comments. I want to make sure I get it out here. First of all, thank you guys so much for watching. This is episode 87 of the Local Celebrity Spotlight, and we are featuring Dr. Kylon Thomas today. So he asked, Sean Middleton asked a question. He said, make sure that you get the endorsement. So have you gotten the endorsement of the councilman who's retiring from that seat?
No, I have not gotten the endorsement of the councilman who's retiring from the seat. I have gotten a list of endorsements, individuals who, the previous person who held the seat, Lonnie Hamilton, we want to be endorsed by ethical people and people who are, undergirded by morals. And I'll just leave it at that. You don't want everybody's endorsement. And so to get somebody's endorsement, look here, I don't care about getting everybody's endorsement. I want to get the right people's endorsement, because when you are endorsed, you want to kind of see what's behind that endorsement and who's behind that endorsement and what's behind that endorsement. And so you want to know that when you receive these endorsements, that that means something too. And so we have put together, a stellar list of endorsers that really can stand up morally, ethically, and all day long.
I love that. We got some other comments. Dustin Rhodes is back at us. Be more in the building. He says, I can agree with back to the comment about getting young people to vote. He said, I think it's also important for us to find young people that have great speaking skills and influence to start storming the stage and having us older heads step back. He said, I do love your energy though. Haha. So you got a fan in Dustin Rhodes. He's from, I believe, Somerville. He moved all the way to Baltimore. Now he's a teacher in Baltimore. So shout out to Baltimore County Schools out there. We have a great teacher out there. We also have Montreal L. Jones. He says, I think voting is extremely important and effective. but it hasn't worked for our community because we don't know what true representation looks like. Can you speak to that feeling when it comes to the people of, people looking like us getting into those seats and maybe not coming through in the way that we would expect them to for our community? And what does actual success look like in that term?
He's right, because we got people, in those positions and they sell out. As soon as they get there, something happens. And that's why I go right back to that endorsement question. You have to look at who's endorsing some of these people. I'm telling you, you got to follow those strings, and you have to watch that, because, just because a person is young doesn't mean that they are not sort of sucked into, that system. And so, I'm one that fights systems. I'm not going to allow individuals based on their money or influence or power, whatever those perceived things to be, to control me, to control my ability to affect positive change for everybody in our community. There are some people, they have an agenda, and they are trying to get folk elected, even people who look like me. They want to get folk elected to fulfill their agenda. They don't want people who can come in who are independent. I don't work for anybody. I work for the Lord. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so they can't get me fired from my job. They can't squeeze me financially. They can't. My son is grown. I'm not raising no small children. And so, I know what this brother is talking about, that these individuals get in these positions and they enrich themselves. They sell us out, meaning, whosoever they are supposed to be representing. And so, and I hate to sound like a politician, because that's why I'm running, because I think we need to flip that script, because we cannot continue allowing that sort of thing. And there are true brothers out here and sisters who are out here, and people who are out here who are trying to run and serve and do a good day's service that will cause people's lives to be better and move our cause a little bit further along its way. But we got to get these people elected. We got to get them in office. We can't be hyped up based on somebody with these little catchy jingles and because whatever. I mean, some of this stuff I listen to, and it's just foolish. I'm like, grow up. And then you look at who they're associated with, and you're like, they're just going to be puppets for the system. And so we need individuals. I've been out there fighting independently before I ran for office, and I'm going to be fighting when I'm in office, and I'm going to be turning it upside down. So that's the kind of mentality that we need. Because when you are truly independent and autonomous, meaning that you're serving your people and you're not cutting little side deals and dealing under the table, and you're not trying to get a little something on this, or they got something on you to the extent that you can't even make a move because they're gonna, blow your life up. Let me tell you one thing. We have to control our own narrative. Let's elect people that will serve us, and it's possible. We just have to elect them.
Yeah. So we got a couple more comments. People are definitely enjoying your interview. We said we got Representative Crystal Simmons. Thank you so much. Crystal Matthews. I apologize, Rep. I apologize. My heart, my head, count it. She said your energy is great. That's a great. That's somebody, if you haven't spoken to, that you might want to speak to. She's doing great things at the State House, and I'm hoping that she's gonna be around for a long time to come. But she's doing great work and advocating for her people. When you think about people who have run for office and really stood up for the thing that they said they were gonna do, Crystal Matthews is definitely one of those people. I also have the claim to fame of being the first person that interviewed her before she ran. So yeah. We also have Sean Middleton. Back to him. He said, "Ooh, they're gonna hate you. I like him." So you got another fan.
Yeah, we're not out here to win a popularity contest. We're just out here to do the right thing.
Yes. So let's talk in terms of June 9th, because you have to run in the primary, correct?
Yes.
So June 9th, you win the primary, you move on to the general election. What does that road look like for you?
Yeah, that road looks pretty successful because, District 6 is a pretty heavily Democratic seat, and it's not a minority seat per se, but it's a Democratic seat. And so whoever wins the Democratic primary has a very strong chance based on the voting history in past elections, just looking at, data and demographics, all that stuff nobody cares about, but it just kind of shows you that there's a pathway, right? Yes. And so I've done that homework, and so if we get through the primary, it's extremely likely that I'll be the next county council person.
Okay. And what will you bring to District 6 that currently does not exist?
Well, I'll bring the level of energy that you're experiencing right now. I'll bring true representation. I went and met with some folks out in Lincolnville, which is part of the district, last week, with socially distanced, observing all of those protocols that we have to observe in this time. But went up there, they hadn't seen a county council person, I mean, in a long time. So again, being for the people, being accessible. So number one, I'm already a pastor. I'm a community organizer. So I'll be in the community. I'll be listening to folk in their communities. I'll be finding out, although, there are these big issues, there are specific issues to various constituents and communities within the district. It's not a one-size-fit-all approach because, again, we have, various parts of this district. They look different. Economically, they're different. Their experiences are different. And definitely, I would make my way around, being present, so I could hear and experience those things and be a true voice for them at that, on that council in that seat. So I bring that. I bring organization. I've led big organizations, and certainly not to say that, there are not those on there that have that ability. But, there was an article in Post and Courier saying that county council needs leadership. Well, I'm a leader. And so if they need leadership, you need to elect somebody who has led successful organizations and has a track record of big change as it relates to organizations. So, I mean, I'm not practicing this. I have a proven track record of leadership, administration. I would come, we need a strategic plan for our county. I mean, why on earth don't we have a short range, 1 year, 3 year, 5, 10-year plan that we can begin to mitigate the growth and the issues that, so that they're not so insurmountable and they're not, we're not reacting to them all the time. Why can't we be more systemic in our planning? And so I would bring that level of urgency, to council. And I would also, again, be a moral, ethical voice. At some point, somebody has to say, no, that is not right. And if it's not right, we have to expose those things for what they are. We have to begin to remember who put us in these particular seats, and we have to serve the people. And I would bring that same sort of moral compass to county council so that we are serving people and we are not, cutting these backroom deals and based on nepotism, cronyism, and all those isms. And we can see that in county council where an individual can go from the chair of the council to the, over the air aviation. I mean, what on earth is happening? And how do we let these things happen? How do we let these things happen and just sit around like we can't do anything about it? Elect folk who will not vote for those type things. And so when you look at, how these things are happening, there are people on that council that are voting for that. And so why is nobody raising the flag on that kind of stuff? Because they're all in it. And so we have to get an outsider in there to sort of bring people's conscience back to a moral center.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm going to start to wrap up. I wanted to give you an opportunity. I guess you may have just made your final call, but I want to get your final thoughts, and then you can tell them where they can find you if they want to find out more information about you or your campaign.
So again, I just love just being engaged with people. Certainly you can find out more about me at kylonforcouncil.com. If you live in District 6, I need your vote. If you don't live in District 6 and you want to be a part of a winning campaign and you want to be a volunteer or just a good supporter, reach out. Go to kylonforcouncil.com and you can fill out a volunteer form there, and we'll put you to work. You could be anywhere in the country, and we can still put you to work. So don't feel, if you want to be a part of a grassroots campaign and a winning campaign and be a part of something, a movement that's bigger, it seems small as it relates to a county race, but that's bigger than just what we're going through right now, then join us. And this won't be the last thing. We continue, to make these sort of systemic changes so that we can, make the best of the world that we live in. So thank you for having me on this show. I know that, I was not the slated guest for the night, but whoever got bumped, I'm sorry.
Nah, it's you. Nah, it's you.
Well, thank you.
Nah, it's you. I didn't bump anybody. I had a slot and I needed, so it worked. It just works.
Thank you.
And I definitely I'm a big believer in supporting people who support us. And it every interaction I've had with you, and we've had several, has always been one that I believe that you definitely stand for what you say. You mean what you say, and you say what you mean, and you walk the talk. And that's something that is definitely needed everywhere from county council, city council, all the way up to Somerville, all the way up to the state house, all the way up to the White House. We need accountability. We need people who are going to walk the talk. And if you're going to do that, then I'm your guy and you're my guy. So we definitely are supporting you here. I got a couple more comments I want to make sure I share. My homeboy, Sean Middleton Bank, he said, seems like anybody named Middleton is radical. I don't know if you know Sean yet, but you need to meet Sean. That's my guy.
I need to meet him.
You talk about fourth combination classes. Me and Sean were actually in a combination class in fourth grade. So we were in 4-5C together at Hersey Elementary, where it's Hersey Elementary now. It used to be Park Circle Elementary. Yeah. And then Montrell Jones says he is in West Ashley, so he needs to connect with you.
KylonForCouncil.com. Go to that page. All my information is there. My cell phone number. Give me a call.
Yes, sir. There it is. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining us, and I'm going to close my music. Thank you all so much for watching this week. Reminder that the local celebrity spotlight shines every Wednesday night from 7 p.m. where I interview my local celebrities and unsung heroes. This Saturday, though, I'm actually going to do something special. I've been thinking a lot about like the way the world has been working in terms of the male perspective and the way that the male perspective is being shared. I think that there's something that needs to be said for an air of male and masculine toxicity that's happening throughout not only the nation but the world. And so I wanted to get a group of guys together to just talk about some topics from a male perspective and try to see if we can like really dive deep into what's going on there. Not in a really deep, like, Hotep kind of way, but like in a deep, like having real talk about these real topics and really dive in. So Saturday night at 7 p.m. from about 7 to probably 9 p.m. we're going to be doing a show that I'm going to be calling Toxic or Nah. Join us Saturday night from 7 to probably 9 p.m. If you are doing something in the community that you would like a light shined on, please reach out to me on my website. That's www.realtalkwithrajan, so that we can discuss getting you on the show. This and all my shows, in addition to the Car Chronicles series, is now available for your listening pleasure via Apple, Google, Spotify, and any place you can find podcasts. You can also find it on my website, www.realtalkwithrajan.com. If you'd like to be made aware of when I go live, because sometimes it is unscheduled, please be sure to click the follow or subscribe tab and turn on notifications so that you will know when something new has been posted to the page. In the meantime, follow me on social media to stay up to date on what's happening with Real Talk. On Twitter, I'm at Real Talk Rajan, Facebook, Real Talk with Rajan, YouTube, Real Talk with Rajan, Periscope, Real Talk Rajan, and Instagram, Real Talk Rajan. Feel free to leave comments, questions, or whatever else you'd like to say in the comment section and the message section. I love reading your messages and getting your feedback, even if it's negative. If you enjoyed the show, I would appreciate it greatly if you could leave a 5-star rating on my podcast and a review on my Facebook or YouTube channel. I am currently accepting invitations for speaking engagements as well as event hosting opportunities. If you would like for me to speak at or host your event, you can request me via my website. You guessed it, www.realtalkwithrajan.com. In closing, always remember, God is everything, and without him, we are nothing. So never forget where your help comes from. And if a man doesn't stand for something, he's bound to fall for anything. Now that is Real Talk. I will see y'all Saturday night. Peace.